Alright, what's going on, guys? I know you've already heard the news by now. Spider-Man 2, the DLC, they have no plans for it. It was never a thing. Apparently, they are not updating us at. Well, the only update they gave us was that there is no DLC or anything like that. And I honestly, before I get into what I really want to talk about, is I generally think the leaks have something to do with this, and this is what the downside of leaks are. A lot of people are like, "Yo, we need to leak GTA 6. We need to see leaks of games, Wolverine, things like that, because the devs aren't showing us anything. They're not showing us no gameplay, so we need to see leaks." This is the downside of getting things leaked. Projects get canceled. Devs are generally hurt by this because they want to show us something special and something unique and fun. And when things like this get leaked, there are consequences, and this is probably the reason why, because it doesn't make any sense for them not to drop 3 DLCs that they did have planned with Beetle, Carnage. I forget what the other one was. It might have been Chameleon, but I that's the only reason I could think of for them not having, unless they're just saying that and they're just pulling our leg and saying, okay, no DLC, but they will surprise drop it, because that is the only reason that I see we're getting DLC, because at this point in time, we're not getting anything, and I think it's because of the leaks. So whoever the leakers were, thanks for that. Anyways, I want to talk about the switch up on this game, because the switch up overall for Spider-Man 2 has been insane to me. I wanted to make a revisiting video about Spider-Man 2 because I felt like you give it a year, a lot of that kind of hype wears off, and the initial hype wears off, I should say, and you can properly critique this game without people jumping down your throat. But I'm not going to do that, because I feel like, again, the hype has worn off, but I feel like people are being a little bit overly critical about this game. Without actually addressing things, they're just calling it trash. They're saying the combat is horrible, it's worse than the first game. Honestly, that's an opinion. I can't even say, like, if you say it's worse than the first game story wise, I think the first game story wise was better, but I'm not gonna say it's trash. 5 out of 10, 8. Like, for me at least, Spider-Man 2 is an 8 out of 10 game. I thought that when the game first dropped. I think it now. Generally, not because of the quests they had in it. I know a lot of people there was controversy with some of the side quests. I didn't care personally. I just think there should have been more post-game story. When I finally beat the main game, I felt like you couldn't replay the bases. Some of the side quests felt too short. I feel like there should have been more. There should have been more for us to really sink our teeth into in the actual game. I feel like not having DLC doesn't affect the main game. Like, you need to take those things as two separate things, because you can't say the game is now a 5 out of 10 because we don't have DLC. That doesn't make any sense. How does a DLC affect the main game? Okay, that shouldn't be a thing. The DLC should be graded on its own. Okay, because now with the game itself, my main gripes were, like I just said, the post game replayability with, like, minus New Game Plus. Okay, like, put that out of the side for a second. Okay, the quests were okay at best. Like, there was the Carnage quest. They're not that memorable. They're not that memorable in my head. I know they had the one with Yuri, I believe, where she became a villain. It's been honestly, too, it's been a year since I played the game, but they had the Carnage quest. They had the side quest where you play as the Miles characters. And I think was that pretty much it, because I honestly don't remember a lot. Oh, the Spider-Verse quest as well. It didn't grip me. There are a lot of games that have really, how should I even put this? Like, really in-depth side quests, and, like, I'm not expecting Insomniac to be a CD Projekt Red or like a Bethesda or anything that in-depth, I just expect the writing to be a little bit better. Give us a little bit more side quests to do, I should say. More things to do. More, like, this is Spider-Man 2 only on the PS5 and now PC. Okay, I think they should have gave us something more to do, or more quests with more bosses, whatever. Okay, and my other gripe was I didn't think the story was. I thought the story was good. Like, I'd give it like a 7.5 ish. I don't really like giving decimal scores, but it was around there. But again, in total with everything, like, I don't want to jump into why I didn't really like the story too much, but it was an 8 out of 10 game. Overall, I thought the graphics were incredible. I thought the gameplay was fun. The web swinging is at the best it's ever been. The suits were okay. I was honestly just maining the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit the whole time. So, like, it didn't gripe me too much. I love the symbiote. I love playing as Venom. That's probably spoilers, but again, it's been out a year now. I don't really care. Um, I feel like there should have been more progression with Peter and the symbiote suit, but again, that's another video in itself. But overall, like, again, back to my main point, it's an 8 out of 10 game. With everything like that, it's an 8 out of 10 game. It could have been better. There was potential for it to be better, but it just, I don't want to say failed to hit the mark, because there was so much hype for this game. It might have been impossible for it to live up to what the first one was, but it's just weird decisions they made. But again, now to my main point, it not having a DLC does not make it a bad game, or it not having whatever DLC you guys wanted does not make it a bad game. That is a separate grading that it adds on to it. It doesn't make it. It's not like an empty puzzle piece that fits in and makes it 100%. It adds on to this already finished cake, or whatever I'm trying to say here, because people are calling it, again, a horrible game, trash game. It was always rushed. It's a 5 out of 10 game. First of all, if you guys have never played an actual 5 out of 10 game, I want you guys to go search up 5 out of 10 games, not IGN, because those ratings are trash. 5 out of 10 games, and tell me, and come back to me. Go play Ride to Hell Retribution. Like, 5 out of 10 and below. Go play Ride to Hell Retribution. Go play a Concord. Go play games that actually have no care put into them by the devs, and then come back to me and then tell me if Spider-Man 2 is still a 5 out of 10 game, because clearly people aren't playing enough bad video games these days, because I've played some of the worst video games out there, and Spider-Man 2 is nowhere near that. Y'all need to stop with the hype. It's actually insane to me how bad this game is being treated because we don't have DLC. And then we want to say the game's rushed. Okay, when it comes down to the game being rushed, do I think parts of the game are rushed? Yes, because again, it feels like some things were missing. It feels like, again, with the story itself, we went from Harry having the Venom agent to Peter having it, to then Peter becoming evil, and then him realizing it was too much and then giving it back, and then Harry becoming Venom, etc., etc. It's like they felt, and then we didn't get a lot of Miles stuff. Like, Miles had to write this paper for the whole game, and it was just like the same thing. You need to finish this paper, and we didn't get a lot of Miles development in the game. I feel personally, I felt like when you have a Miles and Peter, you have to very, very carefully intertwine those stories, or if you're doing two separate stories, make sure they get their dedicated time. And this is what I'm saying. You have the PS5, you have the power of the PS5. People will love this game if it's a little bit longer. You could add more. But honestly, do I think this is Insomniac's fault? I don't think so. I think it was pushed out by Sony, by PlayStation, to meet a deadline, and they had to crunch, and they had to cut things out. Hopefully Sony learns their lesson after this. Don't rush them. Let them work. Let them cook. And this is why I'm not mad at them for not showing us Wolverine every time we get a state of play, because look at what the internet's saying now about Spider-Man 2. You don't want a rush game, so you're not going to get a rush game. So don't be upset when you don't see Venom at a state of, or not Venom, Wolverine at a state of play. So I do think parts of the game are rushed, but again, that doesn't make it a horrible game. And Spider-Man 2 switch up it needs to stop. Generally, it needs to stop. The way some of these devs are getting treated, the way people are talking about this game is the craziest, like, 180 I've ever seen in my life. Even I've seen people on Twitter, like, when did we all wake up and decide to hate Spider-Man 2? And then everyone's in the comments like, I've always hated it. It was always, no, you weren't. No, people did not always hate this game, because last year, I specifically remember people saying, Game of the Year over Baldur's Gate 3. This is Game of the Year. You know, this is going to beat Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's mid. It doesn't deserve Game of the Year. How does a game like this deserve Game of the Year over Spider-Man 2? But then all of a sudden now, because we're not getting DLC, it's a horrible game, and it was always rushed, and it was trash. Like that. This is not computing. This is not computing to me. You know, like it doesn't. Sometimes the internet generally, like, irks me, and this is why, because that doesn't make any sense. You know, again, because we're not getting DLC, then we hate the game, and then all of a sudden the game was always bad. Like, if this DLC came out, it wouldn't have changed the ending of the game. It wouldn't have changed the post-game replayability, besides it having a DLC. Like, yeah, I can go play the DLC now, but it doesn't change what the core game was at launch. We need to come back, and we need to sit back and realize that this game is an 8 out of 10 max for me. If you go 9, 10 out of 10, that means games have to go above and beyond for me. for that next level. Like your side quests need to be in depth. Your villains and your writing need to be in depth. Like, did I enjoy the writing of Venom in this game? Yeah, I thought it was fine. Like, I thought Harry's intentions were fine, but I felt like we went too fast from Harry in the first game to being kind of just there, like in those side quests or whatever, to him actually being in this game, and then him going from that to Venom, which was crazy, which is a crazy leap. I feel like that needs like a whole. You need to introduce Harry in the second game, and then he becomes Venom in the third game type thing. I feel like it needs more time to simmer and soak. I feel like just that, or people were mad it wasn't Eddie Brock, but again, it's gonna be you're gonna run into the same Harry situation where they didn't introduce Eddie Brock at all in the first game. So in the second game, not only do you have to introduce an entirely new character, you have to use that character to build up some sort of relationship with Peter Parker, where he's mad at Peter for a good reason, and then you have to introduce the Venom symbiote somehow, and then you have to get that Venom symbiote onto Peter or onto Eddie, and then you have to see what did Peter do to Eddie to make us care about it, because that's the one main thing. Why do we care that these guys are fighting? What did Peter do to Eddie that made us care? And that's why it works better in this universe with someone like Harry, okay, because they have a dynamic established. But again, I feel like it needed more time in the pot to cook from that jump from Harry to Venom. Okay, like while it was cool, though, that's why I feel like it was a little bit rushed, because I feel like everything just happened so fast, and then you had characters like Miles just on the side. I don't know. And the lizard thing just came and went with Kraven. It was like so many things were just in this game. It was just conjumbled, and like again, I feel like it just needed more time. If you gave everything a little bit more time and extended the duration of the game, but again, this isn't Insomniac's fault. Like, who knows what type of pressure was being applied. But overall, what I'm trying to say is this, like, just because we're not getting DLC doesn't mean this is a bad game. I hope people understand what I'm trying to say from that. It is an you're allowed to not like this game. I'm not saying but if you're switching up just because of the DLC news and everyone's turning on this game, it's unfair to Insomniac, and it's unfair to the devs that worked hard on this game, because this truly isn't a 5 out of 10 game, 4 out of 10 game. If you want to give it a 7 out of 10, fair enough. Okay, fair enough to you. If you were really let down by this game, that's great. But what we're not going to do is, just because you're not getting DLC and you're throwing a hissy fit for some reason, it doesn't make it a bad game. Okay, it's whatever. If you want to complain about the side quests in the game, whatever, do your thing. But again, we're not just doing no DLC equals bad game. That's my main point. Anyways, I'll be back to you guys later with a different video on the 2K Gravity Ball situation, because that's a real problem in the game industry, because that company needs to be taken down. But anyways, hope you guys liked this video. Hope you guys understood what I was trying to say overall. This is probably just a 13-minute yapping session, but more videos on the way. I will be dropping the Dead Rising Remaster review soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more, and comment down below what you thought. I will see you guys on the next video.